7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 1, minus, and we're live. Hey there, friends. Thanks for dropping by, for saying hi, for being a part of this podcast and recording. Food is what's going to keep us healthy and active for a long and healthy life. Because that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about food. Thanks for dropping by. My name is Toby. I am 41 years old, and I train to live an active, self-sufficient, and adventurous life. I do so by minding my sleep. I try to get between 7 and 9 hours in a night. I do so by minding what I eat. We'll talk a bit more about that, as it's the focus of today's episode. I do that by showing up and doing a workout in the morning, and by generally living an active daily lifestyle. And by active, I mean I try to incorporate little walks and little moments of activity, taking the stairs where I can, or even popping into the gym just to do a couple of push-ups and squats for 5 or 10 minutes, or to do sit on a stationary cycle or an elliptical trainer or a rowing machine just for 5 minutes, just to get some sort of movement in. But today I try to invest time and energy in my friendships and relationships, because I understand that they are an important part of my life, and especially my overall health and fitness, and my friendship also, because of that fact, is an important part of my friends' health and fitness, whether they realize it or not. And I try to have things to do that I enjoy, that I can master, that I can put some focus into. All right. So, on Mondays we talk about sleep, on Tuesdays we talk about food, on Wednesdays we talk about movement, on Thursdays we talk about friendship, on Friday we talk about hobbies and mastery, on Saturday we talk about motivation, and on Sunday we reflect on the week. Today is Tuesday, so today we are going to talk about food and nutrition. And at the end of this episode, I will have one small change that we can make that might help us on our health and fitness journey in terms of staying fit and healthy for life and for living. And that's what we're going to talk about as the coffee is brewing, and we have about 10 minutes to talk about these things. Hit like, subscribe if that's something that you're interested in. Say hi in chat, answer the poll, let me know that you're watching, let me know what you think, let me know if you have any questions. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about health, fitness, longevity, and my journey to better understand how to make the most of life given the limitations and constraints that I face as a mere mortal with a day job and a family, and I'd say the most mundane everyday concerns like most of us probably have. We're going to talk about today's training, we're going to talk about food, and then we're going to talk about one small change that we can make that might help us actually get healthier over time through nutrition. So let's talk about today's training. What did I do today? Today I did mobility. My mix of training consists of strength training, strength conditioning training, endurance training, which can be HIIT training or low intensity steady state cardio, or medium intensity steady state cardio. But I'm going easy on the HIIT training and on the strength training, and on the intense running, because I'm recovering from a back injury. And I went on a 10K run a bit over a week ago, and my back started acting up a little bit. So I want to give it enough time to rest and recover. And hopefully over time, 10K in an hour is going to be on the menu again. But we need to give our body time to recover and heal. And getting injured and getting hurt, I think, is a part of life. I think you're very fortunate if you go through life without getting injured or hurt once in a while. And you need to explain to me how you do that. And in that mix of training, there's also mobility. And today was about mobility. There's a couple of things about mobility why I think it's important. Just increasing and maintaining the range of motion that I have in my joints, in my spine, in my hips, my shoulders, my rotator cuffs, my wrists, my ankles. I was trying to maintain that general ability. When I started, I could barely reach down beyond my shins. I can now almost touch my toes. I couldn't sit in a proper deep squat. I can sit comfortably for a minute in a squat right now. So there are all kinds of small advantages to having this increased range of mobility. We also discovered I have a limitation in my mobility of my right shoulder, something that we're trying to fix over time, actually together with a physiotherapist. So there are little insights that we gain from actually engaging in the activity that help us better prepare and make more of our training. At least that's the way I see it. So that's why I invest in mobility, which is what I did this morning. You can go back on my channel. The video is live. And you can watch the session. We were having a nice discussion about goals and what we were trying to, why we do the things that I do. And I explained my bigger goals that translate into the daily goal of showing up for 30 minutes and doing a workout. But let's transition into food and eating well for health, right? Food's very personal. Let's start with that. Food is something that everyone has an opinion on, everyone has habits in, and everyone thinks that they're doing well in, or at least know what they're doing because they've been doing it all their life and they're making choice. And it's probably one of those things that we are most involved in if we look at food, sleep, and activity. Food is the one that we are most emotionally vested in. You don't believe me? Try to tell someone that what they're eating is junk and that they should be eating healthier foods if they're interested in losing weight or getting healthier. And you'll see the kind of responses you will get. And I think it's important to realize that going into this conversation. Food is also the one thing that we cannot really escape, right? We all have to eat something, and we all have to eat something at given times. And because we all have to eat something at given times, and we have to make the most of our diet, we need to be mindful of the baseline knowledge, the baseline skill that we bring to food and to the foods we are trying to consume to lead long, healthy, active lives. Food can be social, food can be pleasurable, food can be functional. In this case, the only thing I'm talking about is the function of food in relation to goals. I'm not talking about the family dinner or the Friday night dinner with friends or the kebab or fries or burger that you bought at 6 in the morning after a night out, which I would say is also functional, but is social or pleasurable, right? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the health and fitness goals, the longevity goals that we have, and the relationship food has to them. And the relationship food has to them is tremendous, okay? So if you think about your goals, right? If I think about my goals, let's talk about this from my perspective. I think that's maybe easier. My goal is to maintain my weight. My goal is to have clean arteries. My goal is to manage my blood pressure without medication. My goal is to be fueled for an active life. My goal is to grow and maintain muscle mass. My goal is to, let's see, do I have any other goals? Here's my health and longevity. Is to reduce inflammation within my body. My goal is to eat a diet that allows my internal organs, and specifically my gastrointestinal tract, to function properly and to work well. All of those sub-goals are part of the bigger goal of staying healthy, fit, active, disease and discomfort-free, medication-free for as long as I can. Now, if those are my goals, then my objective becomes to find the foods that will allow me to do all of that and to do all of that well. If I have different goals, my goal, a couple of years ago, for example, my goal was to lose weight and build muscle, then the food pattern becomes very different. If my goal is to run a marathon and to be fueled to run a marathon in 4 hours, just to give you an idea, my food pattern becomes very different, okay? But these are my goals. And these translate into daily food patterns that cumulatively over the next 10, 20, 30 years are going to keep me healthy and fit. So that's the approach I take to it. It's functional. I look at the goals, and then I try to understand which eating pattern, which foods, which nutrients are going to help me actually reach those goals. And it turns out that there is a lot of nuance and a lot to be learned about food, about dietary patterns, and about the impact they have on both short-term and long-term health. But since my goal is 30, 40 plus years, I need to look at the evidence of maybe studies or scientists who have worked on understanding the impacts of foods, not in the short run, not in, let's say, clinical trials or randomized controlled trials over the course of 1 or 2 years, which are also informative of food choices, but also looking at the long-term impact. And that informs the kind of diet I eat. And that's why I've reached the conclusion over the last 3 months that the best summary here is from Michael Pollan: eat food, not too much, mostly plants. Right? I'm not vegan, I'm not vegetarian, I eat fish and meat, but I have significantly reduced the intake of specifically meat over time. So now maybe once a week, a little bit, fish once or twice a week, and the other days I am actually completely plant-based, and I can tell you I feel actually really good. I sleep better, everything works better. I seem to be doing quite all right. I'm very curious what the implications of that will be over the course of, say, 12 months when I go back for a VO2 max, a cardio test, and also blood work to see what that's done for example, my cholesterol, because the last time my cholesterol was a bit high and my body fat percentage was around 20%. And I am curious if everything that I've done since February last year to today, or to February next year, is going to make any kind of difference in all of those markers. I think they will, but we will find out, because that will also tell me if I'm on the right track for my long-term health and fitness. All right, so food is functional, looking at it over long-term goals, and then trying to understand what the science tells me about what I should and shouldn't eat, in order to hit those goals, and making very personal choices in terms of what I do and don't want to eat. Okay? Food's very personal, so that's how I've approached it. You might take a different approach, but this seems to be working for me, and it's just food for thought. One small change that we can make in our dietary habits today that is going to maybe help us develop different healthy habits, keep us healthy and fit for life and for living, right? You know rice. If you eat rice, if it's on the menu, we might be eating white rice. Generally, it's most common, yeah. But let's swap that for a whole grain alternative. So I've switched from white rice to brown rice, because that still has the fiber attached to the rice that hasn't been cleaned, so to speak. So that gives me and the carbohydrates and the fibers in one meal. Tastes, I don't want to say the same, but it tastes good, tastes fine. We enjoy eating it. There's no issue in eating it. And it's actually become a part of our regular weekly diet in the house. The kids eat it just fine. I eat it just fine. They can have white rice if they prefer, but I will always have a bowl of brown rice when rice is being served with dinner. And I think making that small swap, so switching to a whole grain alternative when we have the opportunity, maybe is going to make a slight difference, for example, in fiber intake, which, if you look at one of the goals I have to keep that gastrointestinal tract working properly, increasing fiber intake is good for that. So one small change already contributes to multiple goals, because fiber is also a bit more satiating, so it helps with the weight maintenance as well. So one small change, taking the whole grain alternative, one meal a week, not even every day, just one meal a week. And maybe if it agrees with you, you can increase that to 2 meals a week. That's all I have for you today, friends. Thanks for dropping by, saying hi. I appreciate you coming by, taking time to listen to my podcast, watch me, talk with me. And remember, if you're interested in what I talk about, I've got a whole channel about health, fitness, kettlebells, longevity. Go ahead, drop by, say hi. I'd be interested in continuing the conversation with you. Hit subscribe. Let me know if you have any questions. And as always, remember that we're good just the way we are. We've got to love ourselves before we can move on. It's the person we are today that's going to get us to where we want to be tomorrow. So a bit of kindness is going to go a long way. There are enough people out there who want to put us down, so we'll lift ourselves up. All right? This is about the way I feel, not about the way I look. I want to feel fit, capable, competent for living an adventurous life. That's something you're interested in. You know where to find me. Hit like, subscribe, and remember, friends, the only way to get anything done is by showing up and doing the work. So I'll see you tomorrow. And remember, subscribe.